produces. So the screen that you have might look slightly different than the screen that's out there. All right, we're live. So as everybody's coming on, we're just going to say hi to each other and take a minute because we don't all get to see each other too often. So just going to say hi to my friends here on the screen. Appreciate all these amazing industry influencers, speakers, content producers joining me today. We are live with our virtual Resonate conference. If you have never had the opportunity to attend Resonate in the past, we like to say that Resonate starts where other conferences end. We focus on mindset, skill set, and tool set. So how do you wrap your head around growing your business? What are the skills that you need to grow your business? And then what are the tools? And when we ask our speakers to speak at the conference, we ask them to kind of forget about the basics and to level up the people who are in the audience by giving them next level content. Think of it as a 200 level college course versus your basic 100 level college course. And today we're doing kind of our virtual happy hour, our chance to just kind of all connect with each other and say hi. So before we get into introducing some of the people on here, I want to thank our sponsors. Seller Labs puts on the Resonate conference. We do put 100% of our sponsorship dollars back into our conference to make it better for you. If you've come to the conference in the past, that means we've taken you to dinner at steakhouses. We've taken you to the Georgia Aquarium. We've thrown, what was the party that we threw? It was a virtual quiz night. And we do a whole bunch of different fun activities when we're there. So thank you to all of our sponsors, including Avalara, Xcart, Seller Labs Managed Services, Gatita, Seller Funding, and Payability. Again, we can't do this without everybody on this stage and our sponsors and their help. Now, if I was to introduce everybody here, we would be on this call for 15 minutes, just hearing everybody's introductions. I want to jump right into the questions, and we'll ask everyone to just give a little introduction when they go to answer the questions. But I want to start with the basic question of hot button topics, right? So we're in a cocktail party at an event, and you're, trying to be successful on the Amazon marketplace. What are the hot button topics that you're dealing with today? And I want to start with Jana because Jana is joining us live from JFK Airport, and she might have to leave to jump on her plane. So I want to make sure I let you jump in here and get us started.
Hi everyone. My name is Jana. I'm the owner of Wild Tea Translations, and we help sellers expand to international marketplaces. So what I think it's a really hot topic when it comes to internationalization and not leaving money on the table is definitely like a lot of people now buy brands and they develop their products and everything in order to exit. So that's like one of the very hot topics. So what you can do to scale your business even more and to maybe make it worth even more is to definitely expand to international marketplaces. Let's say you go to Germany, you go to there are so many hot marketplaces in Europe, Japan, UAE. So that's something really to think about. And I was really happy by I was just recently speaking at Prosper Show, and there are so many US sellers that were really, really looking into this. And people now more than ever want to expand because they've seen that they have less competitors somewhere else, that they have better conditions to develop their brand and to definitely get ahead of their competitors. So I would say that for Q4, I hope that, BDAP takes a lot of time. But I do really hope that even more and more sellers will be expanding to the other side of the ocean. So that's definitely been trending because we've been working with about 3,000 brands ever since last year that have never gone abroad, and they've got really good, sales and profits and stuff like that. We also partner up with Thrasio. They're doing it big time, and Elevate Brands and all these aggregators. They're definitely taking their best brands overseas. So I would definitely say that that's definitely a hot topic, and especially if you want to exit and even grow your brand and then grow your numbers and sell it for even more money.
Awesome. Thank you. I'm going to jump to the topic that everybody loves to talk about. Michael knows I'm coming to him. Tax. What's kind of the hot button topic that's happening in the tax arena?
Well, when we're talking about sales tax, if you're selling on a marketplace, I mean, the future looks very bright. Looking backwards, some states may try to pursue you, but I'm with sales tax and more. We're going to be speaking about income tax because it's not on a lot of people's radar. But we're starting to see the states get very aggressive. You've had California and Pennsylvania already start pursuing FBA sellers, but it's not going to stop there. It's going to spread to all of e-commerce because there's a federal law that's been protecting pure, economic nexus sellers from income tax. But the MTC, who provides guidance for the states out there to follow, just changed their guidance for the first time since 2001. And because of Wayfair, they're now saying that, answering questions via chat or via email post-sale nullifies these protections. So the MTC adopted this early last month, and 22 states said that they're either going to apply this in full or partially. And at that point, sometime over the next 6 to 18 months, income tax is going to become the next huge battle for large online sellers.
Great. And I have followed and known Mike for a number of years, and he's been on the forefront of all of these topics. And I highly recommend you attend that session and that you follow Mike. He is 100% my go-to. I'll probably be repeating that a lot because a lot of people that end up speaking at Resonate are my go-tos in the industry for the topics that they speak about. So thanks, Michael. Jason, you kind of cover the world of and get into the world of live streaming. Yeah. What are you seeing? We know that Amazon made a lot of changes with post, with live. What are you seeing with live and the opportunity that it's going to have both today and maybe into the future?
I think it's become super hot. Excuse me. I was at a Mariners game last night cheering for them against Boston, which was horrible. Anyway, Jason Miles, and it's an honor to be here. Live selling is hot, and it's doubling in terms of revenue impact. CNBC recently reported in 2020, live selling generated $6 billion. 2021, it's estimated to generate $11 billion in sales. By 2023, it's estimated to generate $25 billion in sales. It is exploding in popularity. So for the sellers that can do it, are willing to do it, there's a huge opportunity. When you want to sell something, you go live. Look what we're doing right now. And so it's just the reality of the marketplaces. My personal thesis is Amazon here locally in Seattle saw QVC, Home Shopping Network, purchase Zulily in 2015 and really start to marry e-commerce and live selling more and more. And they got in the game big time, and they've been rolled it out on Prime Day and beyond. And so in my special session, how to sell live on Amazon QVC style, I walk through the technical component of it and some best practices for some of the techniques and strategies for how to do it. So I think it's a hot topic. I think it's going to continue to become a prominent way in which people stand out on the marketplace, not just on Amazon, but of course on their own Shopify site and beyond.
Yeah. And I think that when it comes down to it, we're still at the very early stages of it. And that's where you have an opportunity to get a first mover advantage. Right. And so
absolutely,
you have to kind of jump in with I don't really know what it's going to mean, but I'm going to test it. And I like to say that there are lots of levers on Amazon you can pull, and the success comes from pulling all of the Amazon levers, not just one in particular. And you have to test them out to see, because it might work for your brand, but it might not. It might work for Spikeball, which we'll let Mike here talk in a minute, but it might not work for Tools for Boards because the products are so different and live might not work. When we're talking about live video and user generated content, Mike White, how does that kind of play into a brand and the building of a brand and the success that a brand can have?
Yeah, for us, I'm Mike. I'm at Spikeball, which creates these trampolines behind us that we use to play kind of a backyard game similar to volleyball. And I'm the e-commerce manager there. But for us, UGC was a term that keeps coming up year over year and like why we're successful. And it's because it kind of creates this flywheel for us that, for most people, flywheel would be see our product, buy our product, maybe buy it again. It goes around and around. For us, we throw UGC in there and we rely on our community and our customers to give us content, which then allows us to promote it to more people. And it kind of creates this ever-going thing. And that's something we lean into. We have different competitions to allow people to send in things. But for us, leaning into the community and leaning into our customers specifically has been like the biggest thing for us to grow.
Yeah, and if you listen to the video that Mike and I did in our conversation about the growth of the Spike Ball brand, you'll find that most of their product innovation has come from the jerry-rigging of their product by their customers that have then posted it online, and then other people saying, that's what they want to do. Another hot button topic is Walmart. Justin, like what are you seeing kind of with Walmart and the growth onto not just international, like Yana was talking about, but other marketplaces?
Yeah, Walmart is going to be, almost 40 billion last year to 75 billion is what they're projecting this year. So they're number 2 marketplace. They're getting really big. And what's really interesting to see is right now it's an arbitrager's wonderland right now. And this is kind of the cycle of these marketplaces, like the Amazon of 10 years ago, where there's so much missing selection. There's about 100 million SKUs out there versus about 600 million on Amazon. And so you get all these like small players going out there and adding all kinds of selection and just loving it. And then you're seeing kind of more wholesalers and resellers start coming in as well and finding the stuff that's doing well and adding those brands and seeing success there. And you'll eventually see more and more brand owners jump on as well as they start to see the success. So the flywheel is really starting to spin on Walmart. And it's in kind of the early stages of like the resellers' heyday. And as the traffic and everything grows, you'll see more and more brand owners and it'll get more established. So it's a fun place to be.
Awesome. Rick, are you is Tools for Board on Walmart, or how do you guys kind of see other marketplaces as you're looking at kind of your e-commerce expansion?
Yeah. So we're not on Walmart yet. Our primary sales vehicle is Amazon. But looking at it potentially as a means of growth and diversification. Jeff, you mentioned earlier, what do we see as hot button topics in terms of, hurdles in the foreseeable future? I think that actually our supply chain and disruption is really creating a lot of havoc in terms of what we do. Just to, I guess, segue to what you were talking about earlier. And we're having a lot of trouble getting stuff. So a lot of our orders, we were about 6 months early on bringing them over from Asia and from Europe, especially by ocean freight. Now we're finding a lot of congestion. We're not getting a lot of our things. There's a lot of kind of chaos coming into Q4, and that's as a result of COVID and demand supply issues.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, so that I was just going to bring that up as kind of a hot button issue that we're facing.
Yeah. So, when I have those issues, you're kind of helping me move around the board here. When I have those issues, I always pick up the phone and call Eddie. Eddie, how do you how are, I know you're dealing with bringing a lot of product in, planning for Q4. You've got a lot on the water. What are you kind of seeing? What maybe tips and tricks? I know you shared a lot in 2019 of some tips and tricks to kind of get around it. What are you seeing today that maybe sellers should be thinking about?
Yeah, thanks, Jeff. Again, my name is Eddie from Hubdub Limited. We are an e-commerce brand management and 3PL company. In terms of the logistical problems, honestly, it's a pain point that most sellers, if not all of them, are feeling right now. It's not a question of avoiding them. It's just a question of getting through them. Right now, the problem is there's problems everywhere. I mean, from the ports in China being closed for COVID and typhoons, to the backlog in the US, to no containers, to the ships being out of service, to the rails being congested. The problems are endless. So
really, I mean, obviously being early to the game is best, but now you're at the point where carriers and containers are only traveling with premium service placement, which is, I mean, if you look even just from a year ago, the container prices are 3, 4, 5x what they were. So just sellers are not prepared for that, and it takes a lot of products out of the marketplace in terms of being competitive, right? So I think what we're going to see is just products being not available or pricing going up. But how to get through those is just something that you have to kind of evaluate your business and your overall process to make sure that you are, as a business, are going to be able to be viable through this process. Now, I think we're going to see a lot of things change in the next year to 3 years, is my prediction, as Amazon themselves get into this space. We saw it specifically with Amazon kind of take over their delivery network and their logistics operation in the domestic space, take away market share from FedEx, UPS, things like that. I think you're going to see the same thing happen in the overseas container market as they continue to expand. They've already done that. They've got Amazon branded containers, and my prediction of 1 to 3 years with them, potentially taking over or becoming a big player in this market might be a bit long, but we'll see. I think it's going to change pretty rapidly.
Yeah, I think one of our jokes was, is Amazon working on building their own ships, right? Like Amazon always seeks to solve the problem and improve on the customer experience. And it wouldn't shock me if there were some ships being built.
Just look at your deliveries outside right now. They're Amazon trucks.
Yeah. And the other thing that I've noticed, I saw, I didn't share it with you, but I saw this week for the first time that the press is starting to pick up on the fact that the store shelf is going to be empty for Q4. And I don't think that, I don't think that it's necessarily in the consumer's mind, maybe what the constraints are going to be in the market. So, maybe there's even a play to hold your inventory because it might be worth more to sell more in the future. Melissa, one hot topic button that I've heard is that the cost of advertising is getting more and more expensive. You're on the forefront of that. What are you seeing in terms of hot button topics around ads and ad management?
Yeah, definitely. So hey everyone, Melissa Burdick, president and co-founder at PackView, where we're building marketing automation software, really unifying retail media across Amazon, Walmart, Instacart, et cetera. And absolutely, I mean, CPCs are increasing because you're getting a lot more competition coming in. The aggregators are certainly helping to push up when they're buying all these sellers. The best way that they can take them from page 5 to page 1 is pay a lot in advertising to get them to top of search. So there's a lot of prices and CPCs being driven up, which you get with a mature marketplace. As the years go on, we saw Amazon CPCs creep up. We've seen the same thing with Instacart and Walmart, but there's still plenty of opportunity. And these supply chain issues actually open up a window. We saw it last year during COVID with toilet paper, where kind of the craziest things were winning, like a t-shirt with toilet paper on it was winning the top keywords for toilet paper because Cottonelle and all these other ones didn't even have inventory, so they weren't advertising. So it really does open up an opportunity with all these supply chain issues to hop onto really important keywords. So arbitrage the keywords when, these big brands like P&G and others aren't spending.
So when I think of keywords, I think of listings and listing optimizations. And when I think of that, I call the woman that I gave the shirt off of my back to, Robin Johnson. Robin, what are you seeing in terms of, I love how you guys are helping me flow from one speaker to the next. Robin, what are you seeing in terms of the hot button topics of listing optimizations and connecting your listing to these hot keywords that maybe are trending because of how the market is shifting?
Well, I think the listing optimization, the fundamentals haven't changed, but I think the shipping and the lack of supply does mean, like what somebody else said, do you hold your inventory back? It's like playing a game of Jumanji right now where the board keeps changing as you play. And so I think it's the listing optimization, there's nothing like Lamborghini new in that area. It's focusing on the fundamentals and actually making sure it's getting done. And then, using paid to support it, like Melissa said. But the inventory role is because you can't really optimize a listing and get it to rank without consistent inventory. I think that inventory thing is going to affect all of that as well. Gotcha.
So, Vanessa, I had the pleasure of meeting you, I think 18 times at Prosper, right? I think we just kept getting introduced to one another. And I know that you and Tal did and I don't know if I'm not pronouncing that right, please correct me. Did a presentation on account organization and understanding what's going on with inside your business. What type of hot button topics are you seeing with inside people's Amazon accounts and the way that they're, all the changes that are rolling out from Seller Central, that it seems like almost daily that we're finding. And for those that aren't aware, Melissa will laugh when I say this, because I know she, as an ex-Amazonian, she's keenly aware of this. This is when they're pushing all their changes, because they got to get to all their goals for the year. So you'll be seeing a lot rolling out over the next 4 to 6 weeks.
Yeah. Hi, Jeff, again. Nice to meet you, everybody. My name is Vanessa, and I'm the founder and CEO of Online Seller Solutions. So yeah, with Talal, we mentioned powerhouse management. And one of the things that are very sensitive right now, I know in your business right now, the logistics and PPC, it's very sensitive, important, and you need to build that in your revenue and in your numbers. But one thing that happens a lot is when Amazon mess your things inside, so you have issues in your inventory and in your catalog. What we are seeing right now is they already are very strong with the pesticide issue. So if you got that throughout the year, now everything must be clear. And I feel that going into Q4, maybe they will roll out again the algorithm and push down all the ASINs that are not complying to the keywords, to the images and all the stuff. One thing that's been happening lately, and I don't know if you had the experience though, it's for some reason Amazon is discontinuing products out of the blue, a best-selling item in a variation, and they just discontinue it. You find it one morning you wake up and you see in the stranded inventory with no reason. So when you call Amazon, they tell you, yeah, it's manufacturer discontinued. And you're like, why? Because I'm the manufacturer, I'm the brand owner. That shouldn't be happening. So with all these changes that they're doing in the back end, the algorithm is hurting us in the catalog side, and we need to be able to be on top of that and fighting those. What we spoke in our presentation was how to do it with flat files, how to protect your brand with flat files, not only for changes that are coming inside of Amazon, inside of the algorithm, but also from hijackers and competition. So if a competitor comes in and changes some information into your listing, you need to be prepared to change that, to address that issue. And obviously, you want to prevent those. So we talked in the presentation a lot about how to prevent those issues. And when the problem comes up, you will be able to fix it easily.
Awesome. Manuel, you, I'm going to assume your background is real, because I know that you do a lot in 3D printing and you do a lot in adding value. But what are you seeing in terms of Q4 or hot topics and adding to your brand and making your brand more powerful as you try to grow it?
Yes. Hi, everyone. My name is Manuel, and the background is real. Yes. So it's not an image. And yes, what you can see in the back is a couple of our 3D printed holders, because actually we're a tool brand. But as we try to provide more value to kind of very standardized products, and it's almost like a commodity, our big question and our hot topic is how to differentiate from the competition. And one of our solutions is 3D printing and providing 3D printable accessories, because on the one hand, they are very easily distributable because they are fully digital. So it's a bit comparable to some brands sending ebooks, but for us, it's a bigger kind of differentiator. And for us, it works very, very well on the customer side because it has this differentiation. And for us, it is one of the big hot topics also for Q4 to roll them further out. And originally we're from Europe, and now we're also trying to roll them out in the US. And that's one of the big Q4 topics for us.
And my guess is you kind of control your own manufacturing if you're doing it through 3D printing. And so you kind of can beat your own supply chain by just adding more 3D printers, right?
Oh, just so those are just for our accessories, and then
so you're custom molding the big stuff, and then the accessories are getting the 3D printing.
No, the customers print the products themselves.
Oh, so you're selling the designs?
Yes, and we are selling normal tools, so hand tools like hammer, saws, everything. And the customer can print his own accessories provided by us. And the nice thing is that as they are not distributable through Amazon, we can have a very good opportunity to get the customer later on in the customer journey to our own site.
Yeah, because they're coming back to get the digital files and such. I think I've covered everybody here except Kevin. And Kevin covers a lot within the e-commerce space through your podcast, through a conference that you run and such. What are you hearing about hot button topics and kind of what's on the mind of sellers today?
Yeah, I want to reiterate a lot of what everyone is saying here. You know, supply chain issues. It's across the board. Catalog issues. You know, what are the next tax havens? Maybe haven is the wrong word. And also my presentation, just to give a quick plug for it. I'm Kevin Sanderson from Maximizing E-commerce. I'm talking about selling internationally. And I think that is one of those that if you're not selling internationally, kind of like Yana had said earlier, you're just leaving money on the table. And so with, I think, kind of another layer, I don't know if anyone mentioned this exactly, but the FBA restock limits, I think that's a huge hot button for a lot of people. And so if you have inventory and you're like, I'm not even sure if I can send this into an Amazon warehouse, you know, if you're not registered in Canada, that could be a great way to get going on that. But yeah, more than anything, I just want to also just give a quick little shout out to Jeff and Caroline and everyone at Seller Labs for putting this together. I know how much work this is. So I appreciate you guys doing this and having me at this. But I definitely think for folks, you know, they could add in significant revenue by going into international marketplaces, just to come back to that, which it doesn't alleviate the issues that you're having here, but it helps diversify your risk as you're growing your sales.
So let's jump into a couple of topics. I'm thinking, Eddie, you want to speak on IPI score and restock limits. Is that what you raised your hand for?
I just had a quick thing on restock limits.
Go for it.
And I think it's something that everyone needs to be cognizant of as we go into Q4, because this is not only do you have IPI score and account level limits if your IPI score is below the threshold, but you have restock limits, which is relatively new. And I don't think anyone really has the knowledge or insight into what Amazon is going to do to allow that to grow potentially really, really fast into Q4. There are categories in the marketplace where, you know, Q4 is more than half of the annual revenue. Well, if Amazon is going to continue with the restock limits based on previous sales, how is that going to work for Q4? So I think that's something to really think about.
Yeah, and we saw it with a few sellers last year that we've talked to where they were launching new products in Q4, but they only had a 200 unit restock limit, but they were planning to sell 200 units a day. So at that pace, they never would have gotten caught up with their Q4 limits. Anything else around the concept of IPI score or inventory that anybody wants to share that they're kind of hearing? Go ahead, Vanessa. Go ahead.
Yeah, so there is also kind of the back way into getting your IPI score, or not your IPI score, but your restock limits increased. And that is to use, Amazon has been pushing and started a new division of really upheaving, wrong word, of really like building up on the multi-channel fulfillment part of Amazon. So they've put considerable resources toward multi-channel fulfillment. They've realized that 3PLs like Deliver have been eating their lunch. And so now there's a whole new division at Amazon that's really pushing for getting customers to use their warehouses to fulfill, your native websites. They're even trying to push it onto third-party websites, which we know like probably don't do that for Walmart, right? And that's how they have the blank box program. That's why they allow you to deliver stuff without using Amazon's trucks. You can pay a premium to make sure that it gets delivered without using Amazon trucks. And if you are selling about 1,000 to 2,000 units at least a month off of Amazon, and you're willing to risk having Amazon hold your inventory for you to fulfill your websites, you can definitely ask them for a restock limit increase. And that's kind of the carrot that they're dangling right now. So
it's an interesting move from Amazon, right? Because they've been pushing so hard to not go into that space, but now they're going into that space. Mike, did you want to add something to that?
Yeah. Well, I've also heard the MFN note, and that's something that, or the multi-channel fulfillment, that's something that us at Spikeball are looking into. As our current operation is, we have a warehouse that we fulfill for our website and for our retail orders, but Amazon is mostly FBA. So we are looking into multi-channel fulfillment to help with those restock limits. But the bigger thing for us has been trying to ramp up our capabilities for Fulfilled by Merchant. I know that everyone doesn't have that capabilities for it, but for us, we've been trying to switch and put as much control in our hands as possible. And our stock is sitting there. So we're trying to, 3 or 4 times at our capabilities so that once Q4 comes around, we're not limited by restock, and it can at least supply 50% or more of our demand through our warehouse. And like everyone else, we've been dealing with limits as well, and are just kind of hoping that it goes away and we have trouble, because same for everyone, December and November are bigger months. So we're kind of working on it as well.
So today's September 15th, just in case you're watching this in the future. IPI scores reset October 1. 450 is the limit, which will then change your restock limit and change your pricing. If you're short of that number, right? If you're short of that number, maybe you're within striking distance. What can I do over the next 15 days legally? What can I do over the next 15 days to push myself up the 10, 20 points I might need to get myself to 450 and not get my limits changed for Q4? I'll throw one in there, which is closed products that you can't restock. And I'd be curious if somebody disagrees with me, but I think that a lot of sellers are having supply issues and challenges. And if you're getting hit on the restock part of the business, you can always remove that by removing that product. Robin, did you have something you wanted to add on that?
Yeah. So I find that the restock is the least heavily weighted. The sell-through and the inventory that you have that's stale, that's excess, and the turn have a bigger impact. So usually what we're going to tell people is, pull back any of your excess inventory, make sure that you've got, do sales or do something to help accelerate the sell-through. And as you're sending in more items, only send in those items that are going to sell through very quickly. But if you have an IPI of 400, there's the likelihood of you being able to raise it significantly, unless you do some sort of crazy massive thing, is pretty small. It normally takes at least 3 to 4 weeks to really make a big difference, unless you've done something really drastic with your inventory and the way that it sells through.
Vanessa, did you want to add to that? You're muted.
Yes.
There you go.
Yes. Well, a couple of things when we were talking about before IPI overall. Imagine pointing that you have the above 450. One of the things that Amazon says in the policy that affects your restock limits is your sales history, your historical IPI, and the available capacities that they have in their warehouses. So I think that is the factor that is most influencing right now the restock limits and all the inventory stuff that we're going on. And they're making this very painful because they want, or I feel that Amazon wants sellers to start implementing a hybrid model. So start implementing FBA with FBM, and that's something that going with this Q4 without having another option that FBA is an error, is a mistake that you will have problems, and that's something that I recommend for people. If we're talking about improving that number, and as Robin said, you need more time, 15 days is not enough. But I do recommend you guys to go over your report that is called Reserve Inventory. So because they're having a lot of issues, and I don't know if you guys had the experience, I I think 2 months ago or something, some people just woke up with a lot of stranded inventory that they were not even selling this year, but in years past. So some woke up with SKUs that were from 2019, and you're like, what is this? So Amazon found those items and attached it to you. Those were like reserve ghost inventory that were not into your reports, but they're actually living there, eating your utilization numbers. So if you download your fulfillment report for reserve, you're gonna see 3 types of inventory: the processing, the transferring, and the reserve. We're gonna focus in the processing and the reserve because Amazon does not put them available automatically after they fix the issue. So for example, they can put an item in processing because they need to remeasure or they need to change something, they need to relabel. They do that in the warehouse, but they don't activate the units or activate the inventory for people to buy. And that's an issue that we are not seeing. That's something that I found that it's not reflecting directly in the metrics of the IPI, but it's eating the utilization and it goes towards your excess of inventory. So that affects the sell-through rate, the excess of inventory, and overall the IPI. So we need to really go over, and I feel that it's time for us to take control of our numbers in the inventory and not rely so much on what Amazon is saying in the reports, because we already know that they are not perfect.
That's a great segue. For those that have joined us kind of after we started, all of the speakers that you hear talking today are speakers who have created content for our Resonate conference. Resonate is a Seller Labs event. We're in year 6. Caroline will correct me if I'm wrong. We're in year 6 of Resonate. We're doing it virtual because of COVID and everything going on. And Resonate focuses on the mindset, the skill set, and the tool set that you need to be a successful seller. And Vanessa was a great example of how you need to connect the skill set and the tool set. So the skill set of where to look for it, and then the tool set of what report to be looking at to be successful as an Amazon seller. Again, all of the speakers have created content for you to digest. It's all free. It's all available to you. The link will be posted in the chat or in the notes below. Every speaker has their own speaker page along with contact information about how to reach out to them. I can tell you, and they'll get mad at that I say this, but they really won't. They're all available. They're all available to talk. They're all available to answer questions. They're all available to communicate with you. This is what most of us do. We go to conferences and we talk about Amazon and we work with sellers and we help sellers be successful on the platform. And we miss being live just as much as you guys miss being live. So take the opportunity to connect with the speakers on this stage, take an opportunity to view their presentation and have an opportunity for you to digest this and ask questions. I also want to take a second and thank all of our sponsors. Our sponsors are Seller Labs and Xcart, Avalara, Seller Labs Managed Services, Getita, Seller Funding and Payability. You'll be able to find information on all of our sponsors on the website. They've also provided valuable content for you to digest that is not a sales pitch, but is just information about their business. And I also want to thank MailChimp, one of our additional sponsors of our event. So our sponsors help make this all free for you and allow it to come to you in the way that we're able to produce. And we hope that you'll be available to join us live in 2022 for Resonate. And there's a sign up on the website if you want to be getting more information about Resonate so that you can sign up for future events. It is a limited conference. We typically only sell about 100 to 120 tickets, depending on the size of the room that we have. Most of the people on here have either been to Resonate as a speaker or have even attended it as an attendee. And they can tell you how awesome of a show it is and all the great things, connections and ideas that they came away with. Now, we've got about 20 minutes left before we hit the top of the hour. And Yana hasn't spoken for a while and her plane is probably getting ready to take off. So let's go into Q4 predictions and maybe like what's next, right? So not necessarily hot button topics, but like, what do we need to maybe keep our eye on for Q4, or maybe like, what's a prediction for 2022 as as we start to get our businesses wrapped up in Q4 and we start looking at future planning? Yana?
Oh, okay. So yeah, I mean, this year has been absolutely amazing, and I mean, after the COVID and everything what happened, people start kind of like going more and more like on e-commerce. So definitely that has changed forever. My grandma, she's like 92, like she shops online now. So everything is like basically fast forwarded like 10 years. This had happened like in a year. So I think that people will still, be going with the trend. As I already mentioned, like really like going international has been very, very, very trending, and that has changed like from the like 2 years ago. It was not that big, but like the last year has been absolutely amazing. Also, like people will probably still be going into more like eco-friendly products. Like in Spain, they banned the use of plastic straws and like plastic bags and stuff. So that's probably going to change like the packaging game like a lot for different products in different categories. Yeah, definitely, I think that people will, will be fighting with a lot of inventory problems. I think it's going to get worse and worse. Definitely, I mean, unfortunately, but I think that there's so many things that are going to change next year. Also, I have a really interesting.
You can't name all of them, or nobody will have anything to say.
No, I just have to
You're gonna
say
make it
that
challenging.
what I do know like about like aggregators is that the aggregator bubble is definitely going to burst around February. Top secret information. So that's something that's going to be
what
a
do you
game
think is
changer
going to
for
drop in
next year.
February?
The aggregator bubble.
Yeah.
And I think that not that I think, I know this is probably going to be around February, end of January, February, that the whole bubble is going to burst. Like, like for the aggregators, they're just kind of buying. And then they're not producing anything or not producing enough. I think like now, like when I take a look at the aggregators list, it's like more than 50 or 60 aggregators. I found like aggregators, even like in Iceland and like Greece and like countries like that. But that's definitely going to go down because the bubble has been insane, and aggregators have been like super hot topic for the last year. And it prospered and everywhere, and like throwing the most amazing parties and stuff like that, and like throwing money.
So I think
that's probably gonna end.
I think I agree with you that it has been in the content social circle. Aggregators have been the hot topic to talk about, but I thought Thrasio actually had a very interesting quote in their recent $100 million acquisition that they completed, which basically said, some people see this as the end of the road. We only see this as the beginning. I'm paraphrasing what he actually said.
But we'll see.
And I know they have to be bullish, right? I know they have to be bullish, but Kevin, what are you seeing as kind of like Q4 predictions and kind of what's next?
Well, this could just be wishful thinking on my part, but I think the restock quantities, which is totally different than what it was last year, are going to get better as we get to the holiday season. I noticed last year when it was a different thing, this 200 unit for new SKUs and whatnot, and they were limiting what you could send in per SKU. That started to go up as they went into Q4 and closer to the holiday selling season. And then I started noticing things starting to dip down on how much I could send in as we got into like, December 1st, December 10th, December 20th, it all started to decrease. So I think at the end of the day, Amazon knows they need widgets to sell. Otherwise, they're just not going to be around. And so, I'll just use Canada as an example. So Canada, at one point, everybody was down to like 200 units. It made absolutely no sense. It was just probably just somebody hit a button, changed everybody there. My restock limits in Canada are almost what they are in the US, which is bad for the US, good for Canada. But just one of those things. I think as Amazon starts to figure things out, somebody is going to look at their actual inventory and say, we don't have enough to make money, and they have to answer to Wall Street. And so as much as we look at it as Amazon's making these decisions, and just forcing them down on us, they have pressures too that they have to hold up to. And so as they know more inventory is going to go out the warehouse, I think they know they need to bring more in.
I think you're right. There's constraints within the industry and within the space. There was a question earlier. Somebody said, what is an aggregator? An aggregator are the companies that are raising money right now and acquiring Amazon businesses. They're trying to build like the Procter and Gamble of Amazon businesses. And so if you Google Amazon aggregator, you'll see all the articles. There's like over 100 aggregators today. They've raised billions of dollars. They have multi-billion-dollar valuations. There's a lot of articles and information on it, so we won't get into it here. But for those that aren't aware, want to make sure I cover that. Eddie?
I was just going to kind of expand on what Kevin was saying. I agree with Kevin in the sense that Amazon knows they have to rapidly expand these limits for Q4. I just hope that they do it in a way that sellers who are in categories where Q4 is so important, because of giftable items, for example, they're taking note of that, because certain categories in Q4 are bigger than others. For example, outdoors, for example, might not be as big in Q4 when it's wintertime in half the season. So, or half the country, I should say. So I just hope that they're taking a category perspective to this as well.
Rick, when you're looking at your brand and you're planning for 2022, what do you see on the horizon? What are the things that maybe excite you?
Yeah, so we sell direct to Amazon, so I think it's a bit of a different situation. But in terms of, for instance, bulk buys, we're getting a ton of those early. Our business has never been better. It's growing almost exponentially, and especially through Amazon. So we're looking at having a banner upcoming season. We're primarily ski and snowboard accessory related as a business. We manufacture ski and snowboard products and wax for waxing skis and boards and that type of thing. So our winter season is obviously critical for us. Going into Q4 is a very important time, especially the holiday season. And we see like very rapid expansion, almost to the point where I'm not sure how aggressive we get on our production. We've been ramping up, and it's almost kind of crazy. And I'd like to maybe take a step back and be a little bit more conservative, in case
if you don't have it, you can't sell it.
If you don't have it, you can't. Yeah, exactly. So we're trying to schedule production and increase production pretty dramatically, and it's really pushing our. There's obviously financial constraints on how much you can produce, and we're increasing budgets and allocating more resources. So that's really exciting. It's just that it's not typical. So
yeah,
that's kind of where we're at.
So Manuel, when you hear somebody say that eco-friendly, maybe charity-driven brands are the ones for the future, are those things that you're doing are those concepts you're thinking about when building out your brand and how you're trying to position your business in the future?
Yes, absolutely. Because we are in a space where in the retail world, you have, because of tools, you have in general an older target group. And especially for those shopping online, they are in most cases much more younger than the normal comparable group of the legacy brands. And therefore, we try with most of the products we have to reduce as much plastic in the product involved. We try to reduce on the packaging side. And we even have like a small charity program where we donate the product returns that are they are not lucrative for us to sell anymore, and it's too expensive to refurbish them. And therefore we have a small program where we give them to charity workshops, for example. And awesome. I think definitely.
And those things make a difference. When you look at the up and coming buyers in the market, those things make a difference. Jason, how do you see retail changing? You kind of posted your prediction in here. How do you see retail changing in the future in connection to its connection to e-commerce?
I'm a big believer that Amazon telegraphs its punches, and you just have to be watching what they're doing and see it. Brand registry a few years ago became the thing. And then now in the omni-channel approach they're taking, when they bought Whole Foods, it was a big deal. And when they launched their bookstores here locally in the Seattle area, it was a big deal. Now they have Amazon Go stores. And now the latest rumor, at least, is as of last month that they're going to start making department stores particularly because women's fashion and fashion in general is very, very brutal on returns, and the whole process of trying it on, feeling the whole thing. And they're going local, they're going brick and mortar. I think the new holy grail of sales velocity and volume is not going to be people on the marketplace. It's going to be people who are preferred vendors that are in those stores that go to the stratosphere with Amazon. It's going to be the new way they proceed with super large vendors and accounts. If you walk into the local Amazon bookstore, you look at the curated list of books on those shelves and you think to yourself, these people have it on lockdown. They're in the local stores with Amazon. That's going to only increase, and they're going to do it at the scale at which they do stuff, which is insane. That's my prediction, that's going to ramp up, and it's going to catch people by surprise who are just focused in the cul-de-sac, I might say, of optimizing on the marketplace itself and not thinking broader about how to partner with Amazon.
Robin, you work with a lot of brands. Is that something you're keeping your eye on? Is it something that you're able to position yourself for? Is it like, what are the things I want to do today? If I believe in Jason's prediction, what are things that I want to do today that are going to set me up for success with that?
Amazon's been providing a lot of tools specifically for brands lately, and you want to be participating in every one of those betas. You want to be putting on posts. You want to be doing the brand stories. You want to be doing all of those things that Amazon has said that they feel is important. And I think that they're going to be looking at a combination of sell-through rates and apex brands, but they're also going to be looking at sales. And one of the things that you can do is the things that always gets Amazon attention is sales. So, using advertising. And I think as the advertising platform has gotten increasingly complicated, and, used to be sponsored products was all, as we see the evolution of the ad platform, I think that, that will also lend into narrowing down the brands that do well on Amazon to those that can be a little bit more sophisticated and a little more grown up in their strategy. That will naturally feed into what Jason said, into like building stores and developing that.
What's the play that I'll throw this out there for everybody. What's the play of the government in all of this? Threats of breaking things up. Is Amazon and others a monopoly? Is I think the latest letter was that FBA as a factor and position in search is what the government is trying to hang their hat on for being an illegal, a monopolistic approach. Justin, you were at Amazon. You spent a few years there. Michael, you're covering a lot of the stuff from the legal tax side. Do you see this having legs, or is this just the current winds of the political system that are just getting some attention right now?
Yeah, this is a tough one to say, and I don't know if I'm an expert here. I would predict the latter. In my mind, I think this is just because Amazon does compete against so many different people that the legal system they have their argument they can make, but there's a pretty strong, compelling counter argument here to how competitive the environment is that Amazon plays in, that they kind of come back with it. In my mind, wins out. But boy, these ones are it's a hard one to predict here.
Mike Fleming?
I don't know if I'm an expert in this particular area either, but I just don't have a lot of confidence in the federal government getting together and doing anything that requires, cooperation with each other. So that's my take on this. I
opened up a weird can of worms, yeah. And what I want to say to this is very much along the lines of what Jason said. I believe too that Amazon telegraphs a lot of their moves. And I believe that it's reading through the tea leaves to figure those out. And I believe that HQ2 was a preemptive move for the government potentially breaking them up. And I think that Amazon is designed, in my mind, Amazon is designed for a breakup. or maybe Jeff Bezos's wealth is designed for a breakup or something like that. I don't know, but in my mind, there are pieces and components of Amazon that if they need to get rid of them to not break the law, if the laws are to change, Amazon is prepared to pull those out and not have them impact the other pieces of their business. It's a core fundamental of their principles, right? Like their core principles are designed around these, what the concept, two pizza teams and single threads of ownership that would allow them to that if Amazon came, if anyone came out, right? Look at India. They said you can't sell your own brands. It didn't stop Amazon from going into India. They just didn't sell their own brands. They're taking a different path to that. And so I think that the government might make some moves or try to make some noise, especially as you get closer to a major election. But I don't know that it will greatly impact it will greatly impact the way that they're doing business. Jason?
Yeah, two quick thoughts on that. Don't underestimate the fact that Amazon, Jeff Bezos lives in Medina, like he's a neighbor of Bill Gates. And in the Seattle area, Microsoft's, government battle 20 years ago was a massive, massive shot across the bow that made people here locally really understand that the government is serious when it tries to break something up. I think Amazon forearmed itself and really is probably prepared really well for that. With that thinking in mind, the other piece that I would just say is I think they've aligned themselves politically so that they're safe unless there's a real seed change in the leadership in Washington, D.C. politically. And, if the party changes, twist about in the next year and a half, 2 years, whatever it is, it could go against Amazon. But I don't see it happening with current leadership in Washington, D.C. in place. That's just my thesis. The Washington Post purchase by Bezos was smart politically. And, they're long-term thinkers. So that's my 2 cents on it.
Does any of it, I guess the ultimate question is like, we can all pontificate on it, right? And it's great to talk about it, but does it impact us as sellers? Eddie?
I think the impact of sellers really depends on exactly what happens with the governmental and Amazon as a whole. I mean, I think Amazon has practiced this, as others have alluded to, for not weeks, not months, but for years. They've made their plans known, at least internally, on what will happen no matter what goes on with federal government or what have you. So I think they have a plan for everything. But we saw, if any of you saw the congressional testimony by Jeff Bezos, it was several months ago. I mean, he answered questions, but he answered at very surface level. It was very, I'll have to look into that, or not to my knowledge. It wasn't very giving.
Who doesn't answer questions?
No, I'm not saying I'm surprised. I'm just saying Amazon can give clues, but I think there's a lot more under the surface that they're ready for, is my point.
Yeah. And I think that ultimately when it comes down to it, like, we could sit here and try to guess what changes those will make. But I think as the one thing I ultimately always say, especially this time of the year, is the only thing I can guarantee is that change is going to occur. Things will be different. More policies will roll out. Fees will change over time. And as sellers, we have to continue to adapt what we're doing and how we're doing it to ensure that we're designed to succeed ourselves. And I think that's the tea leaf you need to read, is not necessarily where are the aggregators going and how's that going to impact my business. If they're willing to buy you for a premium and you want to sell. But ultimately the aggregators won't impact your business. You will impact your business by the things that you're trying to do. And I think that that's what makes you successful as an Amazon seller and as an Amazon brand, is being able to focus on yourself. And one of the Amazon principles, if you read them all, is that they do not get hyper-focused on the competitor. They understand the competitor and they know what's going on, but they don't let it direct where they're going. They're making their own direction of where they're going. And if you listen to the brands that we have on here and the people who represent the brands that we have on here, most all of them will all agree that this is the direction things are going and that they're controlling the direction of their brand. They're pushing their brand forward into the new products and into the new channels and into the new directions that they want to go. And that's, I think, the message that you should take out of here as an Amazon seller. Again, all of this content and more is available on the Seller Labs website under Resonate. The link is available. Every speaker has their own speaker page with contact information for you to be able to reach out to them directly. I want to thank our sponsors, Avalara, Seller Labs, Xcart, Seller Labs Managed Services, Gatita, Seller Funding, Payability, and MailChimp for helping to put on this amazing event. And since we did it at the beginning, we'll do it at the end. Everybody wave goodbye to your friends and make sure you say goodbye to everybody. Thank you all, and everybody have a great day.